2 Samuel chapter 9. 2 Samuel chapter 9. Are we all there? And David said, is there yet any that is left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? And there was of the house of Saul a servant whose name was Ziba. And when the king said unto him, art thou Ziba? And he said, thy servant is he. And the king said, is there not yet any of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? And Ziba said unto the king, Jonathan had yet a son, which is lame on his feet. And the king said unto him, where is he? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he is with the son of Amiel in Lodibar. Then King David sent and fetched him out of the house of Maacah, the son of Amiel in Lodibar. Now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was come unto David, he did reverence. And David said, Mephibosheth. And he answered, thy servant is he. Amen. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. I'm reading from verse 9. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, and not destroyed. Look at somebody and tell him, knocked down, but not knocked out. Turn to another person and say, it's a knockdown, but not a knockout. Or turn to the last person behind you and say, it's a knockdown, but not a knockout. One writer said, we live in a world of changes, that the several events of time and conditions of human life are vastly different from one another. He said, but every change concerning us and the time in which they come are unalterably fixed by a supreme power, and we can do nothing in our power to change it, unquote. If I look at what this scholar is saying, he seems to suggest to me that there are certain things in our lives that happen that if we had power to change, we would not have allowed them to have happened in the first place. Have there ever been a time in your life when you were a child that you looked at yourself and all you said was, I wish I had not been born in this place? I don't know if I have a witness here, but I have said that often. There are times you look at yourself, and particularly when you see other people's parents and they are doing better than your parent, the tendency is for you to look at them and tell yourself that if I were born by these people, I probably would have been better than what I am today. It's interesting because if you look at the life of Mephibosheth, the entire life of Mephibosheth is a story that encourages me. If you look at the background of Mephibosheth, he happens to be the son of Jonathan, and that automatically places him under Saul, because Saul happens to be the father of Jonathan. May I suggest to you that historically, if you look at the Jewish people, you will notice that historically it has been recorded that their first king was the king Saul. And then later on, David came into the scene. But if I look at it from a theological lens, the tendency is for me to conclude that even though historically Saul happened to be the first, but theologically David was the first. Now the reason I say this is because if you look at their selection, the way they were anointed, it was different. Now when God wanted to anoint Saul for kingship, the Bible said that God told Samuel that I am sending somebody to you and I want you to anoint him with a flask of oil. In the case of David, God spoke to the prophet and did not say, I am sending him to you, but I am sending you to him. And then when you go, anoint him with a horn of oil. Now the difference between between the flask and the horn is that the flask is a man-made material, but the horn is derived from a cow, and that makes it a natural material. Now it presupposes that Saul only came into the scene because the people requested for a king. But in the case of David, it was not a request. It was the Lord himself who said, I have found David my servant. Oh God, I wish someone would understand where I'm going. And so now Saul happens to be a king, and then you will notice that Kish was not a king. So it means that Saul came to enjoy what his father did not enjoy. Now oftentimes whenever God lifts you or elevates you to a level where you did not enjoy, or you enjoy what others did not enjoy, and if you are a good father, the tendency is for you to say that because I did not enjoy, or because I did not have this privilege, I am going to use this opportunity to make the lives of my children better. And may I propose to you that some of you are here not because your parents enjoyed the benefit of what you have, but you are only here because your parents want to give you what they never had the opportunity. Oh God, I wish somebody understood where I'm going. They never had the opportunity to enjoy what you are enjoying. And so this is what happened in the life of Mephibosheth. Because Saul himself was not a king, he said that now that I have been blessed, I'm going to make sure that I give him all the best things there is to life. So if you study the life of Mephibosheth, at a very tender age, there was a king, there was somebody in the palace, and the duty of the servant in the palace was not to attend to the call of the king. She was not there for Jonathan, but it was only there for Mephibosheth. So all that Mephibosheth needed was provided for by this particular servant. Now it shows us that at a very tender age, he had been introduced to what it means to be served as a prince, because they were training the guy only to grow up and to become a prince. But sometimes when you give your children the best there is to life, what you have to do is to show them that even though I'm giving you all the best things you need in life, but you need to understand that there is another side to life. Because if you do not teach the child that even though I'm giving you prosperity, wealth and blessing, but there is also poverty and pain at the other side of the coin, the child will grow up and think that all that there is to life is enjoyment. Because Mephibosheth was not taught that there is also poverty and pain at the other side of the coin. Something happened that conditioned the life of the boy for the negative. Because one day the father and the grandfather went to the battlefield, and interestingly the father died, and then the grandfather also died. And the Bible said that the news of the death of the father and the grandfather was reported to the palace and to Mephibosheth. May I propose to you that whenever life hits you so hard in the time that you have not prepared, it hits you so hard that you don't even have the ability and the tenacity to rise again. Mephibosheth never anticipated that something negative was going to happen in his life. Let me also propose to you that in life, in spite of your background, there will be a time of your breakdown, but the way you are able to stand will depend on the ability to pass through the transitions in life. And that means that everybody here has got to expect that sometimes the negative of life will show up. David calls it a bad or an evil day. You know that there are certain things that have happened in your life that you need somebody to remind you. But there are certain things that have happened in your life that you will never forget because of either the pain or the joy it brought into your life. Mephibosheth was doing all right, and then all of a sudden the father, who was the pillar of his life, died, and the grandfather also died. Somebody said that death is so terrifying, but it's not so terrifying because it happens every day. Now, in some part of the world, every day people die in a horrific manner. There is always a bomb blast, and thousands and then hundreds and tens of people died. But whenever you are living in a place where the reason why in Africa we have time for the dead and we waste time on the dead is because of how they die. But when you go to certain places like the Middle East where people die every day, whenever a family has lost something and I have lost a member, there is no way I'm going to have enough time to go and mourn with the other because they are also in trouble themselves. I don't know if you understand where I'm going. And now Mephibosheth has lost a father and everybody in his life, because it was in that time that Ishbosheth also died. One man, his name is Norman. He says that death is not the greatest loss in life, but the greatest loss in life is what dies inside of us while we still live. In other words, sometimes it is not the death, but it is what the death brings into your life. Some people die and you do not cry, but there are other people, when they die, you will weep and weep and weep till you have no longer strength in you. And the reason is the contribution of the people in your life. Let me give you a biblical foundation. When Moses died, God went to Joshua and said that Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore arise. Now, why did God go to Joshua to announce? Because God was aware that the external death of Moses can lead to the internal death of their dreams. In other words, it was Moses who brought the prophetic word of a proposed or a promised land. And now that the one who is the leader is dead, there is the tendency for them to say that if Moses is dead, then we no longer can inherit the promised land. But the devil is a liar. Your Moses can die, but if you still hold on to the God of Moses, you can still enter the place of your blessing, and your project cannot be stopped. Oh, I wish I could preach to somebody right about now. And so an external death can lead to an internal death, especially when they have contributed a lot in your life. There are people who have ambitions of becoming lawyers and great people in the future, but somewhere along the line their financial pillars died and the dream died with them. Oh, there are some people who die and they die out of the world, but there are some people, when they die, they do not die out of the world, but they die with your world, because your entire life depends on them and your sustenance depends on them. There are some of you, if somebody who financially supports you dies, there is no way you can move on with your project. But I pray for somebody here that what happened to Mephibosheth will never happen in your life. But the Bible said when Mephibosheth's father died, the dream of Mephibosheth also died. And I want you to know that when the father died, the servant also said that let me take the boy to Godibert. Why? Because the man or the woman, was only taking care of Mephibosheth because she was a salary worker. And now that the one who will pay her is dead, there is no way she will continue because nobody will pay her for her service. So she said, then let me dump Mephibosheth in a place called Godibert. So in a short period, the entire life of Mephibosheth seemed to have come crumbling down. There are certain times in your life where one negative event leads to the other, and another negative event leads to the other. Sometimes you see your work crumbling, but you have nothing within your power to bring everything to a halt. Oh, but let me tell somebody here that the Lord who upholds the universe by the word of his power has enough power to hold your world in spite of how crumbling it yourself and say it's a breakdown, but I will still have a breakthrough. Turn to another person and say it's just a knockdown, but not a knockout. So Mephibosheth was living in a place of shame. One writer, his name is Eric Erickson, he calls shame an identity crisis. But let me tell somebody here right about now that one mistake you don't have to do is to measure your position by your condition. Sometimes we measure our identity by our circumstances. But let me tell somebody here that you can be broke, but it does not change your position. You can be broke, but you are still a child of God. I wish somebody will understand what I'm talking about. You may have nothing. You know something? Your bank account is different from your pocket. Sometimes you can put your hand in your pocket and nothing may come out. But when you go into your bank account, oh God, I wish somebody understand where I'm going. The fact that you have nothing now does not mean you will not have anything. You may not have something here, but you have something with your Father in heaven. I wish I could preach to somebody right about now. So Mephibosheth was in an identity crisis, but in spite of your pain, you got to tell yourself that I know I'm in the middle of a crisis, but everything is going to be all right with me. Sometimes you got to encourage yourself. No wonder the Bible says, let the rich, let the poor say, and let the weak say, even though the person is poor and weak. But the Bible says, let him say, because out of the mouth of babes and sucklings, God has ordained the strength to silence the enemy. Your dream can die. Everything about you can die, but you still got to hold on. Can I talk to you about Titanic? How many of you have watched Titanic? I watched Titanic years ago, and I realized there was a man, Leonardo DiCaprio, and then another character in this particular movie. But one interesting thing I learned was that when the ship broke down and everybody else fell into the ocean, I saw Leonardo himself. He was holding onto a piece of wood, and all of a sudden Leonardo himself died. But I admire that particular lady that was with Leonardo, because everybody else died and they changed to eyes. The lady only had a broken piece of wood, but she held on until the helpers came her way. Your world may be broken, but hold on. Your world may be crashing, but hold on. Don't let the devil talk you into killing yourself. Or give somebody a high five and say, stay alive. In spite of the pain, stay alive. In spite of the trouble, stay alive. In spite of the sorrow, stay alive. Because help is on the way. If you can stay alive, when your rescuers come into the scene, they are going to find you living. Oh, I wish I could talk to somebody. When the people came to the scene, they never carried the dead, but they carried only the person they saw moving. Sometimes you may not even be moving quick, but even if you are moving slowly, it's a sign that you have life. And once there is life, there can always be hope. And so now they left Mephibosheth in a place called Lodebar, in the house of Makkah. Can I preach to somebody like I feel it? And I realized that the Hebrew word Lodebar means no pasture, and the word Makkah also means to be ruined, or to tumble in ruins, and to be destroyed, or to be brought low. But I listened to what my agri teacher told me. Years ago, my agri science teacher told me that whenever you have a land that has no pasture, and you put a decayed substance on the land, it does not destroy the land, but it ends up fertilizing the land. So when the enemy left, when the enemy took Mephibosheth to Lodebar, they thought they were destroying the life of the boy. They had no idea that where they kept the boy was not a place of destruction, but a place that had a fertilizer enough to fertilize his life and let him bounce back onto life. And no wonder Paul said that if the princes of this world had known
devil is on your case. I know the devil is in your life. But one thing I know is that God will turn around the evil for your good. I heard Joseph when he looked the face of the brothers and he said unto them that you meant it for evil, but God has turned it for my good. Can I preach to somebody like I feel it? Mephibosheth was all alone, right in Godibert, but the Bible said in 2 Samuel chapter 9, the number 9 is a number of manifestation. The Bible said, and David said, is there anybody still? Look at somebody and say, I'm still here. I've been in a mess, but I'm still here. The devil has been on my case, but I'm still here. I've been tossed by hardship, but I'm still here. I've been messed up, but I'm still here. The Bible said, David asked, is there anybody still in the house of Saul that I may show him kindness? Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible said, and David repeated that not just an ordinary kindness, but I want to show you the kindness of God. The reason why David said that the kindness of God was because the first time Mephibosheth received kindness, he ended up losing the legs. So David said this time around that not the human kindness, but the kindness of God, because the kindness of man has its own limitation, but the kindness of God can go deep down into a pit and lift somebody like Joseph. The kindness of God can go deep down into Godibert and bring Mephibosheth out. Tonight I prophesy to every Mephibosheth who have been battered by life. Tonight I prophesy to anybody who has been left in Godibert without assistance, without any helper, without any breakthrough, without any expectation. I came to let you know that if David could bring Mephibosheth out of the troubling situation, there is somebody who is greater than David. Can I speak to somebody? The Bible said David remembered Mephibosheth because of the covenant between David and Jonathan. If the covenant of David and Jonathan was potent enough to deliver Mephibosheth, then the covenant of Jesus that he sealed with his own precious blood is so powerful that it does not matter where you find yourself. I see this covenant about to speak in your life, about to speak in your health, about to speak in your finance, about to speak in your family. Every Mephibosheth who has been abandoned by his helpers, every Mephibosheth who has been left in Godibert, I hear the Lord saying that I'm about to show you not the kindness of man, but the kindness of the living God. Give somebody high five. Say, do you know my new name? My new name is the kindness of God. God. Somebody ought to know that when the father of Mephibosheth called him Mephibosheth, he understood the implications of the name, because the name Mephibosheth is a Hebrew word that means a destroyer of shame. In other words, the father understood that one day there will be shame in his life, but the shame will not destroy the boy, but the boy will destroy the shame. I prophesy to you, whatever killed your father, whatever destroyed your dad, whatever destroyed your mom, anything that destroys others, it will not destroy you. I heard the Bible say, I created the wisdom to destroy, but as for you, no formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. I prophesy to you that somebody is coming out of shame, somebody is coming out of sorrow, somebody is coming out of trouble. Ziba thought that Mephibosheth would die in Godibert. When you go home tonight, go and tell every Ziba over your life, over your inheritance, that I'm coming out to the blessing. I am coming out to the place of my inheritance. I am coming out back to the palace. You held me in mediocrity, but I'm coming out. The Bible said Mephibosheth was brought back to the palace, and when he got to the palace, the king restored unto him anything that belonged to the father. I speak unto somebody prophetically that after this conference, whatever the caterpillars and the locusts and the palmerworms and the cankerworms have eaten in your life, after this convention, I see a restoration entering your life. If you shout amen like a thunder, it will happen to you. I prophesy to you that after this convention, whatever you lost in the year 2000, whatever you lost from 2001 up to 13, I decree unto you that after tonight, I see it coming back. 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 Everybody thought that Mephibosheth was dead. This is why David said, is there anybody still? In other words, even David himself thought he was dead, but it was just a knockdown, but not a knockout. I decree unto you, I don't know where you are in the middle of your life. I don't know where you are in the course of your life, but all I know is that the power of God is able to lift a man from the miry clay, and is able to lift a man from the dungeon and set his feet upon the rock. I prophesy to you, God will lift you out of the miry clay. God will lift you out of the dungeon, and you will put your feet upon the rock to stay and put a new song in your mouth, and it will be a song of deliverance, a song of joy, a song of good news, a song of glad tidings to the glory of the Father. Anybody that thought you are never bouncing back, they got it wrong. Every enemy that thought you will never rise, they got it wrong. Because after today, I see you rise again. 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 Anything that kept you in bondage, I decree unto you, whether they like it or not, whether the enemy likes it or not, after tonight, you will rise above your companions. You will rise above your friends. Anything that held you, anything that kept you bound, if I be a man of God, I prophesy, may the hand of God be superimposed upon your life, and may God lift you again. I see Mephibosheth entering the palace. I see the Mephibosheth about to rule. I see Mephibosheth taking his inheritance. I see Mephibosheth eliminating Ziba. Every Ziba occupying your blessing. Any Ziba occupying your inheritance. I decree that after today, they will give it back to you. 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 Look at somebody and say, I'm down, but I'm not out. Turn to another person. Say, I'm bouncing back. I'm bouncing back. I'm bouncing back. I'm bouncing back. Academically, I'm bouncing back. Spiritually, I'm bouncing back. Maritally, I'm bouncing back. Financially, I'm bouncing back. Economically, I'm bouncing back. In my health, somebody rise to your feet and give God a shout. Shake three people. Shake three people. Tell them I'll bounce back. I'll bounce back. I'll bounce back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. The next time your enemy will see you, they will see you blessed. They will see you rich. They will see you lifted. Am I talking to somebody here? I prophesy to you. The next time your enemy will see you, they will testify that the Lord has been good. They will testify that the Lord has visited. They will testify that the Lord has lifted you. Lift your voice and shout, yeah! Put your hands together for me.